Hello and welcome to day one of our challenge. So the first thing that I would actually like you to do today is come up to standing, and I'm going to just show you the correct way to do a forward fold, and I would love you to take a photo. So we like to see before and afters, and even if you don't want to share these, that's absolutely fine. Keep it for yourself so that you can see the difference. So stand hips distance apart. If you don't know what hips distance is, find the bony parts of your hips, place your fingers on them, point down. It might be wider than you think. So hips distance apart. Micro bend the knees. So what that means is we're not locking the knees out. If you lock your knees out, you're tensing your knees and your kneecaps are pushing towards the back of the room. Loosen the kneecaps. Hands on the hips. Stick the bum out, arch the back. So it's like we've got this curve in our back. Look up, fold forward with the length in the spine until you can get no further. From here, release the hands, release the back, and fold down. Even just doing it this way, you might already find that you're closer than what you thought you were. Take a picture of this. Either you can video yourself and then screenshot it, or set up a 10-second timer and just see how far you are today before we begin. In today's video, we're going to be going through the different parts of the body to see where your unique body feels tightest. So the first thing that we're actually going to do is start with the feet. So if you could, I would like you to come to a seated position. You can also do this on a chair. We're going to pick up the right foot and we're going to hold hands with our foot. So we're going to grab our fingers and we're going to place them in between the toes and really stretch out the toes here. Give them a little wiggle. Try and get your fingers as far down as you can. It's going to feel really awkward, but as we work through the body, it's really great to start from the bottom up or from the top to the bottom, but we need to work the whole body. Everything is connected, and sometimes we could have tight calves, but that actually could be because we got a tightness around the feet area, and that's pulling on that muscle. So it's really good to work the whole body. So just hold hands with your toes for a second, have a little wiggle. If your fingers can get all the way down, what you can do is scrunch your hands and your toes together, so you're creating some tightness there, and then release them. And then tighten and release them. And just do that a few more times, just really stretching out the toes here. Making sure that you're breathing. And then release those fingers. It's probably going to feel really awkward. Give everything a little wiggle and switch sides. So grab hold of your left foot. Fingers in between the toes, and don't worry if you can't get your fingers anywhere near like the join. That's absolutely fine. This will come with time. So just wiggle them down as far as they will go and hold it as best you can. Now it might feel enough here. It might feel even overwhelming here. Hold it, breathe into it. Try to lengthen through the spine if you're sat on the floor. And if you can get your fingers down, you can scrunch and release. And you might find, again, this is why we're doing this kind of movement as well. You might find that one side feels tighter than the other. And if it does, just take note of that. And at the end of this class, I want you to write in the comments below if you found one side tighter in most of these movements. So for me, as just an example here, my left side, my fingers, I'm struggling to get them all the way down. I can do it, but it's more painful than the other side. And I know that my left side is slightly tighter than my right. And I will find that with every movement that we do today. So just take notice of that in your own body. And then release your fingers, give it a wiggle. Oh, feels horrible. And let's come over onto all fours. Now, whenever we're on all fours here, you can always use a blanket underneath your knees for a little bit of support, especially if you're on a hard floor. We're going to tuck the toes under, and if you can, you're going to sit back on your heels. Now, if you can't sit back on your heels, that's fine. You can stay kneeling up. Come as far down as you can. We're just putting some pressure there. If coming onto your knees feels way too much, come up to a wall and tuck your toes under and bend into it that way. So take whichever position feels good for you. If you are sat on your heels, just make sure that the little toe is tucked under as well, because sometimes that one tends to ping out to the side. So just make sure you're stretching through there. We're not going to stay here too long. If you're at the wall, make sure you switch and do the other leg. And make sure that you're breathing long inhales and long exhales throughout all of this as well. I'm going to be saying this during this whole challenge. Every time we exhale, we send a signal to the brain to relax. If you're holding your breath or your exhale is short, so if you're going, you're going to be, your body's going to start tensing, your muscles are going to start tightening, and we want them to relax so that they can lengthen. So long, slow inhales and exhales. Okay, let's come back to all fours, tap out the feet, just to kind of get rid of some of that tension we might have built up there. Okay, so from here, again, you can do this one at a wall. We're going to tuck the right toes under, tuck the toes under, and stretch the heel backwards towards the floor. So now we're getting into the calf muscle here. So toes stay still. Bring your heel as close to the floor as it will go. Probably won't go anywhere near, but that's fine. And just gently rock back and forth. And you should start to feel a little bit of a stretch through the calf muscle. Now, if you're at a wall, same thing. But you're going to be planting your foot flat on the ground and trying to lean your body forward so that you can get that calf stretch there. Maybe take the feet further back. And again, the heel might not be all the way on the floor, but just go until you feel some kind of calf stretch. Find out where it feels good for you. It's going to be different on everybody. Notice how that feels. Just kind of remember that sensation. Bring that knee back and switch sides. Left foot goes out, tuck the toes under. Push back through that heel, maybe gentle rocks back and forward. And again, just notice, does this side feel tighter? Does it feel the same? There's a tiny calf stretch here. Push that heel back, maybe gently bounce it. And let's come back to all fours. Okay, so remember you can always put a blanket under your knees here. I'm going to bring the right foot up in between the hands. So it's like we're coming into a low lunge. Wiggle your right foot forward as much as you can so that your knee is over your ankle. So low lunge here. You might already start to feel this around the hips and the legs here. Take a big inhale, lengthen through the spine. This is where you can use yoga blocks if you have them. You don't have to, you can hold onto a wall. You can have your hands on your knees, a bit more balance is needed then. Or just keep your fingertips on the ground, but try not to round the back. If you notice what's happening here, when I round my back, my hips start going backwards slightly, so I'm not getting as much of a stretch. If I open my chest, my hips come forward. So try to look forward and not down. We're not going to stay here too long. Let's walk the hands back and start to straighten the right leg. Toes are going to point up towards the ceiling. Now you might not have your leg straight here. You might have a bend in the knee, and that's absolutely fine. Again, it depends how tight you are. You can use blocks, you can hold on to a wall. We're going to lengthen through the spine again, so keep looking forward. It's as if you're trying to reach your belly to your thighs rather than your head to your knee. And you should be feeling a nice stretch down the back of the right hamstring here. Remember, it doesn't matter how bent you have this knee. Just feel that stretch there. Slow inhales and exhales. Getting into the hamstrings. This is where most people will find some tightness. Bend back into that knee. Take that knee back to meet the left, and we're going to bring the left foot up. So again, wiggle that front foot forward until your knee comes over your ankle. Find your low lunge position. Now just take notice here, make sure that your knee is over your ankle, because if your foot is further back, you're going to be getting more into the calf stretch here than the hamstring or the quads. So bring that foot forward. If you need to come up higher, come up higher. Grab some blocks, grab some books, grab anything that's laying around. Looking forward, lengthen through the spine. And then very slowly walk the hands back, start to straighten the left leg, toes point up to the ceiling, and we're back in this half split shape. Remember to bend the knee if you need to. Lengthen as much as you can through the spine. And feel that stretch all down the left hamstring. Maybe even going up into the left hip. Slow inhales and exhales here. And again, just noticing for yourself which side was tightest, which side you're feeling more, which exercise you're feeling more. Let's rebend into that left knee. Left knee comes back to meet the right. Back to all fours. Okay, so we're just going to take a couple of cat-cows here. So spread your fingers nice and wide. Make sure your hands are shoulder width. Hips, knees are hips distance. Let's inhale, drop the belly down, stick the bum out, look forward. So you're arching your back downwards. Exhale, push the mat away, round the back, tuck the tailbone, look towards your thighs. Inhale, drop the chest, stick the bum out, look forward. Exhale, reverse, push the mat away, round the back, belly button draws up towards the spine. Inhale down, this is cow pose. Imagine you've got udders and they're dragging towards the ground. Exhale to your cat pose, your scared cat, arch the back. One more time. Inhale down. Exhale back. Okay, let's come back to a neutral spine. Toes together, knees as wide as the yoga mat. Drop your hips back down towards your feet. Arms come out long ahead. Sink your belly, your chest down towards the ground. Rest your forehead on the mat. Now from here, we're going to be letting go of everything. So don't hold on to any tension. It doesn't matter if your bum is nowhere near your heels, if your belly or your head is nowhere near the floor. Relax into it as much as you can. You can always, again, use a block or books or cushions to bring the floor up to you. So you can always place them under your chest or under your head, just so you can relax into this pose a little bit more. The more we relax, the more our muscles relax and the more they can lengthen. So try to relax everything here. Slow inhales, even slower exhales. And just take notice here of how your hips feel. Maybe even gently just wiggle your torso kind of side to side and just notice if maybe one side of your hip feels tighter than the other. And then slowly lift your head, come back up onto your knees. Bring your hands out a little bit further than your shoulders. Tuck your toes. We're going to come into downward facing dog. So let's lift the knees off the ground, push your belly back towards your thighs, lift your hips up towards the sky. And then from here, we want to make sure that we're lengthening through the back. Keep a bend in your knees. What we see a lot of people doing here is they will straighten the legs, but what that does is that will compromise the back and they'll start rounding the back. We do not want this position. Bend the knees, push the belly back, lift your hips up high. Imagine trying to get your head towards your toes here. And then from here, you can start to straighten one leg. So you should feel this all down the back of whichever leg you've straightened. Take an inhale and an exhale, rebend, straighten the other leg. Rebend, straighten the other leg. So you've always got one leg bent and one leg straight. And the other leg. Let's bend both knees. Again, lift your hips up high. Look towards your thumbs or your fingers. Take a big step or little steps and come into a forward fold. So step your feet hips distance apart. Slight bend of the knees. Release the whole upper body over your legs. Grab hold of opposite elbows. Release the head, shake the head yes and no, make sure it's nice and loose. And then maybe gently rocking side to side. Every exhale, just imagine your spine lengthening and your head getting closer towards the ground. Just dangle here for a second. If you have got a lot of head pressure, then slowly take a seat on the floor and come out of this. And just take notice here where you're feeling this in your body. Now we've worked through the different parts. Where are you feeling this the most? Now if your knees are still bent, straighten your knees. Release your hands down and just see where you are now, just after that little stretch of going through the different parts of the body. Don't judge, just take notice. Okay, slowly bend the knees, bend, bend, and bend. Start to look upwards. You can bring the hands behind you so that you can take a seat on your bum. Bring your legs out in front, just bounce the knees up and down. Bring your feet hips distance apart. Inhale, bring the hands up. Exhale, fold forward, but dig into the ground with your heels here so that we're not locking the knees out. So you might have a bend in the knees. I'm just going to fold. You can grab hold of your legs, the mat, your feet, wherever you can reach is absolutely fine. And one thing that I want to mention here is make sure that you are lengthening through the low back. So for a very long time, I kept hearing yoga teachers say, to lengthen through the spine as you fold forward. So what I was doing was and nobody corrected me, I was trying to keep my back straight while folding forward, and then I wasn't feeling much. It was like it was jamming into my hips. I'm not feeling anything now down the back of my legs. All I'm feeling is tension in my back from tensing my back to try to keep it lengthened. What they meant was lengthen through the low back. So you want to kind of tilt the hips forward, and you can do this by sitting up on the edge of a blanket if you find this difficult. Slight bend of the knees. Bring your belly, so you lengthen through your spine, bring your belly down towards your legs. Try to bring your chest to your knees, look forward, and then pull yourself either from your legs or from the mat or from your toes, so that you're trying to get your nose to your toes. Now here, I am feeling a lot now, okay? I have got a slight round in my back, but my low back has been lengthened as much as it could be lengthened, and now I can get so much further, okay? Than when I was here trying to lengthen through my spine, okay? So just come on back up. It's just something to notice. Shake the knees out, bend the knees up and down. And that's us done for day one. So what I would love you to do now is just let me know in the comments if you felt one side was tighter than the other. Let me know which side it is. Let me also know which exercise you felt the most, because you need to know where in your body, your unique body, you specifically are feeling tight. So let me know in the comments. I cannot wait to see all your progress. I mean, this is only day one, so let's see how far we can get on day 5.